Today's message is from Dr. Christian Sorensen, and it was recorded January 6th, 2019. And it's titled Q&A with the Rev, affirming, I am one with the all-knowing wisdom of Spirit. And this is the yearly Q&A that Dr. Christian Sorensen has with the congregation at Seaside Center for Spiritual Living. And today we welcome back the talent and the voice of Keith Leon, who can be found on his website at Leon Smith Publishing. Now, you can always visit us at seasidecenter.org, and you can always join us in Encinitas, California on a Sunday sometime, where we always have great music, a spirited message, and a joyful, loving, vibrant community that await you. Just come visit us at seasidecenter.org for the schedule. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So it is my pleasure today to introduce a new friend to me. He's been to Seaside, but it's been a long minute, and we're happy to have him back. So Keith Leon is a multiple international best-selling author and a co-owner of a successful book publishing company, and he's well known as the Book Guy. He has his CDs and books out in the lobby for after the service. He's spoken at events that included Jack Canfield, Neil Donald Walsh, Barbara DeAngelis, John Gray, Michael Beckwith, and Marianne Williamson. He sang and played music with Stevie Wonder, Ben Vereen, Carl Anderson, Nancy Wilson, the Wood Brothers, and Kebmo, just to name a few. So please help me give a warm Seaside welcome to Keith Leon.
Good morning. It's wonderful to be here again. And a long minute is about 7 years. That's how long it's been. All right, this song is a finger snapper, a toe tapper. If you would just get on up and have some fun with it, that'd be great. This song is called It's a God Thing. Every time I see the sunset or a bird take to flight, I thank my spirit for the next breath, 'cause I know everything's alright. So empty, wasn't sure of anything at all. I thought I was disconnected, but I never even picked up the phone to call. God showed me who I am and a brand new way to be. Ever since I found this out, it's so good to be me, 'cause it's a God thing. Every day of my life, it's a God thing. Every day of my life. Yeah. Well, I don't waste my time thinking about the future, and I forgave myself for the past. When I stepped into this moment, I found myself at last. God showed me who I really am, how awesome life can be. Ever since I heard the truth, it's so good to be me, 'cause it's a God thing. Every day of my life, it's a God thing. Every day of my life. Yeah, sing it with the saxophone. my world is a reflection of who and what I choose to be. You know what? I always thought someone else was in charge. Didn't know that someone was me. But now I know who I really am. And all my friends will agree. Yeah. Ever since I found the sweet, sweet spirit, it's so good to be me. 'Cause it's a God thing. Every day of my life. God thing. It's a God thing. Each and every day of my life. It's a God thing. Ain't it great to be alive? Oh, it's a God thing. Every day of my life. Every single day of my life. It's a God thing. 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 It's a God thing. It's a God thing.
That is Keith Leon. My goodness, it is a God thing. Great job, Keith. Man, welcome home. Gosh, 23 years of being part of the music department at Agape just got you ready for Seaside. So welcome to your true home. This is Keith Leon. Just welcome to town. We're glad you're part of things. And then this is Whitney. She's been part of the family for years and years and years. Stepping in today for Rebecca. Hey, what a great way to start the new year with a little blues and the God thing. You know, God showing up as you is our message all the way. And just where else are you going to find music like that on a Sunday morning other than Seaside? So, boy, Rebecca takes good care of us, whether she's here or not. That's for sure. Anyway, so what I tend to do at the beginning of every year is open up the Sunday message to Spirit to speak through your questions, trusting it will fill me in with some insights and answers. And so we're going to ask you for a question. And now I want your questions to be sharp. We call it telescopic brevity, which means we don't want your stories, just want the questions, because I'm doing the talk today, not you. When you ask a question, I want to invite you to stand, and we'll bring you the microphone, we'll get you on the camera, and all our online community will hear your question. If not, I'll repeat it, and they'll hear it anyway. So with that, if you don't have any questions, I got a textbook, and I can just open it and start lecturing, but I don't want to go that way. But I can. Anyway, actually, we also have first service, we got a question from the online community in New York. Candace sent in a video question, and we've got another one. Kat's out there visiting, so she got some questions from the online community. But anyway, here we are. Who has a question? Let's go with Callie's hand up. Let's start. And then we'll go to Bruce.
No, I'm not a plant.
Yeah, I was thinking, Callie, my beloved, who puts up with me. And
Okay.
All right.
Can you speak to earth justice and sacred activism and its place in our movement and in our philosophy?
Okay, so earth justice in our place, in our movement, and our philosophy, absolutely. What we believe is Spirit is in and through all things, that there is no place where God is not, and there is as much Spirit in the earth as there is in this body, and it is all Spirit expressing. And what is essential is that we don't denigrate this body, nor do we want to denigrate the body of this earth. That we truly believe in living in harmony and in balance with all things, which is the best way for Spirit to have expression, and that includes the harmony and balance of this earth. And as we begin to watch things go out of balance, what's essential is that we're willing to speak up and say, hey, you know what? Things need to come back to the center a little bit more. It's not about exploitation of resources or anything, or people, or this planet. It is about living in harmony and balance upon this planet and walking in a sacred kind of manner. And so our philosophy, I believe, is honoring that Spirit in our planet, in our earth, in our environment, in our air, in our water, and in all things. And when things are out of balance, it is a call for us to say, hey, what needs to be adjusted here? We can get into who's wrong and all those kind of things, but that isn't what creates the healing. It is about the healing and the emergence of the wholeness, and we are part of the totality of nature. So often what we think about nature is that it's the trees, it's the birds, it's the lakes. We forget that we're as much a part of nature as the trees, the birds, the lakes. It is all God expressing, and that we're part of that. And when we begin to neglect or abuse any part of the divine body, it has an impact on everything. And Ernest Holmes continuously talks about the union of all things. It is the unification, the oneness with life. And as we begin to honor the earth and the earth justice, sometimes we need to speak out and say, hey guys, there's something out of balance here, and there needs to be an adjustment that is taken. And so if it is yours to do, then you speak out and say, hey, something needs to happen here. And what is happening within religious science or centers for spiritual living, we're watching a lot more sacred activism emerge, because for so long we have just gone about that it's all God, it's all good, it's all going to work out, and isn't that wonderful? And yes, that is the ultimate truth. But what is essential is that sometimes that we need to be the ones that are used by Spirit to bring forth a greater balance in the world in which we live. And so it's not about dominance of anyone over anything, whether it is individuals, nations, or the planet, or the environment, but rather it is about walking in balance and harmony, because we are one with all things, and any impact on one spot upon this world impacts all aspects. And so, yes, there is a place within our movement for this. Thank you. And to plug, our Seaside Sisters does great work in terms of that social justice stuff. So let's go with Bruce, and then back there. Yes.
I'm Bruce. I'm a revenue agent. And
a revenue agent?
Yeah.
Meaning like with the IRS?
IRS. Yeah.
Oh, we comply, honestly.
Okay. My question is, with this furlough going on, I don't see.
I'm sorry?
With this furlough going on?
With this?
We have a furlough.
Furlough. Oh, furlough. Yes.
Furlough,
yeah. You get your check from the government, do you?
Yeah.
Not this week, though. Okay.
No, not this week.
All right.
Yeah, a couple of weeks. Yeah. So I was wondering, what's the point in that?
What's the point in that?
We get lots of money.
Okay. So I think. Thank you, Bruce. So what's the point in this government furlough? I think what happens within our political structure, without making anyone or anything right or wrong or the decisions, what is happening, I believe, that we're witnessing is the emergence of things that have been below the surface. And so what comes up and looks like chaos or questions or furloughs or balks or any of those things is coming to the surface. The challenges that have been undermining the system in which we're living. And so when something comes to the surface, it's actually a good thing. Though getting a paycheck may not feel like a good thing, but thank you, because you represent the totality, and so you're the one who's taking the heat right now, along with those hundreds of thousands of other individuals. But what I want us to get is that the government is really a representation of the collective consciousness of our nation, and so what comes to the surface tends to be representing so much more that's underneath it. And so when there is something that is shut down, there's something that's not right somewhere within the system, and it stops everything in the motion where we're going, and makes us step back and say, okay, what kind of adjustment needs to be made here so we can live in greater balance and greater harmony? If all of a sudden, in the political climate that is going on, it's so easy to say this is wrong and that is wrong, but what I want us to do is to be able to take a stand for what we feel is right, because it takes two different dynamics to move things forward, because if you don't have opposites or polarity, you kind of got things just staying the same, and it is the dynamics that is moving us to a new time. And as I was talking about at the first service, what we're watching is the birth of a new a planetary community, a harmony, a unity, a balance of one planet. And as we're going through this birthing cycle, we're messing up along the ways, and sometimes birth is messy, and we're going through a messy time. But let us know that we are about to enter into a time in which we are able to live on this planet as one family, one human race, that we're going to live within balance and harmony, and we have to move through where we have blockages, stuckages, discontent, disagreements, and not make others wrong, but allow it for us to be able to take what is it that I want to speak for and take a stand for, so I can help move the collective energy in this kind of direction. So maybe that's part of what's going on there. So thank you. Yes.
Good morning.
Good
My name is
morning.
Courtney. Some people call me Coco. My question is, do you see a distinction between soul and spirit?
All right. Coco, do I see a distinction between soul and spirit? So what Ernest Holmes likes to talk about is the macrocosm and the microcosm. And so it's really how one chooses to use spirit and soul. When I talk about spirit with the big capital S, I'm talking about God. So I'm talking about the universal spirit, the spirit of all things. But I could also talk about the spirit of my being, and that would be the small s. And so, I can understand how it's confusing, where we have our human soul, where it retains the totality of all that we have experienced. It is our collective consciousness, but also you've got the race soul, which has the totality of everybody's consciousness that is part of it. And that is almost like where the soul memory of the individual and the collective consciousness and the planetary consciousness. And so they can be interchangeable, and yet and so I look for the big S, little s on both of those. But I'll talk about the individual soul. Ernest Holmes talks about the individual soul that is forever and ever expanding, for we're ever moving into the embrace of that spirit or the totality of it all. But within that individual soul, or the subjective or the psychic realm, is the realm of the records and the information and all that pertains to the individual, as well as a collective, whether it is of a family or of a nation or of a planet. And so I pretty much keep spirit for God, and I'll keep soul for the individual. But the soul is not just my personal one, because it's connected with everything. Because if everything is everything, then I got to be part of that everything. And if I'm part of that everything, then I have contact and availability and access to the everything. So, it kind of merges into one. And as I read different books, they tend to blend back and forth, spirit being God and the soul being the individual. So, thanks, Coco. Let's go on this side. We've got Jeffrey, who's had his hand up. And then I got Valerie next to him.
Hi, I'm Jeff. And my question is, how do people who are struggling with fear move out of that and into faith?
Wonderful question. How do those struggling with fear move out of fear and into faith? Well, I think and I feel that leap comes from first seeing that I'm stuck here and I no longer want to be there, and then commit to doing the work on that, to be able to sit there and to come into contact with your soul, with your spirit, and say, what's going on here? What is it that is not confident, that is not self-assured? What is it that took place? And you sit there and you begin to do your work. You get into the classes. All of a sudden, the class environment is a safe place to begin to do the exploration and to take those multiple thoughts that are swirling through one's field of awareness and begin to start sharing them in a safe environment, so you can begin to maybe get feedback, to be able to hear yourself speak it. But as you do that, ultimately you're going to have to step out there. That is the only way you're going to move from fear to faith, is to take the action. You do your work, you do your homework, you do your meditations, you do your connection. You begin to come to recognize that you are spirit expressing, and that moving through that nebulous, that invisible barrier is what we all get to do. And some, it may be as difficult just to step out of a house, which for my son happens to be the dynamic and can be as simple and profound as that. And for others, it could be starting a whole new corporation and business. But that wall is our learning field. We all find that place to where it is we come, and we learn to step through that so we can take it to the next level and the next level. What has happened so often with individuals is that what seems like early steps or baby steps begin to be the wall that one never gets through. What happens is you've got to get through it and say, wow, I survived. Okay, what's the next wall? And you step through it. It is a progression of your evolution, and those walls are your laboratory. Those walls are your schoolroom. Those walls are your spiritual practice, and we're the ones that judge whether this is a big one or not a big one. You know what? It is all the same energetic, and we are in this world to move through that. So let's get our judgment off of it and find the chutzpah to begin to step into it and say, wow, okay, I made it. Okay, I may have to step back into the shell for a little bit more comfort, regain my composure and breath, and do it again and take another step. The doingness is the way in which one becomes competent and more comfortable in stepping through the fear. And you may get smacked down, and you may lose, and you may get injured. And that's okay, because you know what? That's what we're here in life to do. You know, we are going to win some, we're going to lose some, and if at the end you're a little bit further ahead than when you got here, it's like you won the game. And, you know, and if you didn't, well, you know what? This isn't the only life, I don't believe. I believe this is one stopping point. And so you get another life to do it again. And another life. So you might as well get it this time around so you can begin to do something new and different. But if you don't, you've bought yourself another life. So you got to just get the mentalness off of it and be willing to jump in and figure out how deep it is. And that's how you learn to swim. You don't learn from the side. You got to let go of the side to learn how to swim. You got to step through that nebulous, invisible wall that we all have, and that we're all dancing at that edge, and stop saying this is bigger than that one, because you know what? At the energetic level, it is the same energy for us to push through the wall, whether it's down the field or at the beginning. So the way you do it, do it. Okay.
Hi, my name is Valerie. I have heard many people use the expression holding space, and every Sunday I see we have a practitioner that is holding the light. Can you explain that, please?
Absolutely. So the space we intend to hold here is a sacred space. You know, some will hold very chaotic space. If you ever been in their field of expression, it's like, oh man. So what we do is we're all coming in here with our unique different places and which is why we start with music and invocations and prayer, is because we attempt to come into this sacred space together, into the space where Spirit will reveal itself to us individually. You know, I'll kind of stir things up, but it is the personal experience we want you to have here. And the space that we're holding is sacred space where Spirit speaks, not in words perhaps, but with an inner realization and inner space. And so we have a wonderful practitioner who holds the light or holds the space, as you're asking today. It happens to be Dave Kennedy back there in our spiritual support center. And they are there just to be a conduit, to be aware of God, to be aware of God, to be aware of God, and then to be aware of God. And that's their sole purpose. So the space that we are holding here is a sacred space of an awareness of a greater vibration of being, a greater sense of our wholeness, and the awareness of Spirit is in and through all things, which is all of us. And so the space that we have consciously chosen to hold is a sacred space. Space is held, and you walk into any house or in any town, and there is a space or a consciousness that is held, that can be felt, that is palatable, that is just real. Well, what we are doing here is being conscious of the space or the consciousness that is to be available, and that is a sacred space where the presence of God is felt and known, and it's in that knowing healing happens, because the thrust of our movement is about healing. It is about the transformation of the conditions in our experience in life that we no longer want to have, or the ones that we do want to have, that, you know what, in that awareness, the presence, all things are possible, and that is the space that we're consciously choosing to have, because if you're not conscious of the space you have, then what you get is the freneticness of the environment, of what's left over, of just what's going on, of those that are unconscious. And so before things even begin, here at 8:30, we unite anyone who's involved with the morning. We get together, we pray, and we're conscious of the space that we want to be experienced when people enter our campus. As soon as you drive on to our campus, to be able to know that this is a place of love, caring, and compassion. And so that's what we mean when we say we're holding the space. It's a high space that we work with. So thank you. No, we have an online one. As I mentioned, Katherine's over on the East Coast, and so she got some of the online community to share questions.
Good morning, Seaside. It's so wonderful to still be present for you from all the way out here in New York. I have asked a few people what questions they may have about spirituality and metaphysics, and here are a few of them.
We had Candace at the first service online talking to us. And this one, who do we have, Marv? See, and the space we're holding is where all things work out
and I live in
with an ease and a grace.
My question is, what are some
Talking about fear, Jeff, this is...
are searching for a spiritual community?
Let's see if we can start at the beginning. There we go.
Thanks. Hi, my name is Rose, and I live in Ithaca, New York. And my question is, what are some tips you have for people who are searching for a spiritual community that fits their needs? Thanks.
All right. Well, we call it church shopping around here. You're looking for a spiritual community that fits your needs. I think it's important to maybe do your research, if possible, online to find some things that look like that it could be a match. Excuse me. And then go around and check them out, to walk in and see, did I find my people? Did I find the consciousness? Is there a message that resonates with my being? It's no longer a time where we grew up in the neighborhood and went to the family church that our parents went to. What is happening is we are in a time where people go to where we're fed. And what we have to offer here is an entirely different kind of message than a traditional message. What we believe is that, Spirit expresses through each and every individual, and that you are the place where Spirit touches down. And we don't believe that it's coming to us from someone or something outside, but rather it is coming through each and every one of us. And so if that is a message that one is looking for about self-empowerment, taking away the victim consciousness, taking back your power from what you have given it to, whether it has been your fears, whether it has been other people or spiritual leaders, and saying, you know what, this is a community that says that answer, that wisdom, that intelligence is coming from within inside of me, then that's your kind of place. If that is not what you're looking for, that's why you keep shopping around. We're in an era where you can go online and listen to 3 spiritual messages in the time that it used to take a whole morning to listen to just one. And you don't have to do it at 9 and 11. You can do it at 11 o'clock at night and listen to, as we mentioned earlier, Michael Beckwith, Christian, Joel Osteen. All those guys are available anytime you want to listen to them. And so in terms of finding a spiritual community, you got it a lot easier now than we had it in our day, where we actually had to show up and say, hey, is this a match for me? So what I feel is imperative in finding a spiritual community is not location, though that helps, but what resonates with my soul? That's where you want to sit. Anyone who says, follow me, this is the only way, run the other way. Because I don't think that is the way. And so to find your true home, you want to begin to listen to your heart and your soul. You know. So it's a wonderful question. And in our also what's valuable with community is community. Online community is one thing, and it is just a great thing. But there's also great value in finding your peeps like in a physical place, so you can come and be together, to have the hug, to have the touch, to have the love. One of the things I shared again at the first service is that Seaside is such a joyous place and a happy place, and everybody seems to be smiling, that I hear time and time again that when somebody's feeling bad or their life isn't working, they don't come here because they don't want to be a downer on everybody. And I just want to reiterate, that is exactly the time that you should be coming here and picking up the phone and calling your minister or a practitioner for a spiritual boost. That's what we're here in community for, is to love one another in our high times as well as our low times. And when you're down, that hug, that support, the boy, stick to it, is so valuable. And yes, you can get it online, from 100 people, but there's something about that hug and somebody looking you in the eyes and telling you, it's going to be okay. You're beautiful. You're an expression of God, worthy of experiencing the magnificence of walking on this planet. So, those are some of my thoughts on that. Okay, time for one more. You're the one.
Hi, I'm Laura. I'm from LA, but
Laura,
this is
my
home.
goodness, long time.
back home,
My
I
goodness.
know.
How big are the kids now?
Taller than me.
Yeah, I'll bet. My goodness. Long time.
So I find when people ask me, what is your belief? I end up talking so much that they get a funny look on their face. So what would be your elevator pitch for what our spiritual beliefs here at Science of Mind here at Seaside?
Okay. I'll do that. Spiritual pitch on how to explain this new thought philosophy, particularly Centers for Spiritual Living and Religious Science. Well, Ernest Holmes really capsulized it really good right there in the simple line. You want it real short in the elevator. There's only one floor. Change your thinking, change your life. And that's what we work on here. That's what we offer in classes. What we do believe in is a higher power. And as all religions talk about is that it is infinite. But our extrapolation of it is different than the traditional beliefs, because traditional beliefs that God is everything and there can be evil and there is bad and negativity. What we believe is that Spirit is everything and I'm one with that. You know, I'm not all of it, but all that I am is one with that. And so that's really a fundamental difference, because if I'm one with it, then I can begin to change my thinking and change my life. I'm not a victim to what's out there in the world. And so we move it in a different direction. We allow ourselves to be the place in which Spirit speaks. We call that prayer. You know, we don't put it outside, but rather we call forth that expression of wholeness that is that comes from within. We work with spiritual principles, and so anybody can use it. You don't have to be just a special avatar that's walking this planet, but one of the things our philosophy offers are the spiritual tools in which you can change your thinking, that you can change your life. They're very teachable. They're demonstrable. They're able to be used in your life. And so what we do is we tend to look at great individuals that walk this planet as examples of the possible human on being able to correct the things that are out of balance. We don't deny that there are challenges in this world and negativities or evils and things, but they're not a power unto themselves. As God is everything, then what I want to do is go back to that inner place and begin to say, where's Spirit here? What's going on here? If God's all places, then how is God showing up in this the political time or in my fears? You know, what is the value here? So we believe in a higher power that we're able to direct within our world through specific principles or laws that are very teachable that anybody can use, so we can change our thinking and change our life. You know, the Bible calls it done unto you as you believe. Cause and effect is very popular. Singers say what goes around comes around. You know, you can name it what you want, but we believe you cast upon this infinite field, you know, what it is that's going to be the mold for Spirit to fill. So I can keep on talking like you, like forever and ever, like in a class, but the things I work on is that there's a higher power, and it's an expression of love that all are part of that. And as we come into alignment with it, we can begin to direct it for specific outcomes in our world, just as long as it's for good. And bottom line is, I'm willing to change my thinking, I'll change my life, and as long as I'm doing it for the better, everything lines up to support that. So thank you, Laura. Man, I'd love to keep going. It seems like we're just warming up, but I'll tell you, classes start in a couple weeks. We do this every week, you know, in class. But what we have right now is Keith coming on back to our stage, and so please join me in welcoming Keith Leon.
Let's all take this breath of God together. And one more, just to bring our heart to that place that knows love.
When my hope is gone,
That is Keith Leon. Wow. Fill my hands, God. Man, we're here to serve. Use me.